And at some point, I switched focus to cryptocurrencies, and I ended up at a small crypto currency company that had a concept of masternodes where people could stake the coins and they would spin up a masternode on the cloud. And the concept was that they want to be kind of like a file coin. They want to have a decentralized file system, though they never got there. But what happened was that they had all these nodes that had quite a bit of storage that just sat there, right? And I was kind of tasked to see what can we do with the storage. And that really got me into researching all the things out there with cryptocurrency and storage. And then I came to discover Chia. And Chia was really fascinating. The consensus, technology behind it is really genius. So I really wanted to know more about it. Found out that it really sits in the perfect spot between proof of work and proof of stake, in that it's still secure, still decentralized, doesn't have all the energy use that proof of work has. So that got me really interested. Mainnet started up, so I became a farmer. Probably like everybody else struggled with getting the farm up, getting everything plotted. That was quite interesting at the start, where plots would take hours. Things would crash. Nowadays, we're so lucky with like plots in minutes. And of course, I had hard disks that failed on me because I just bought them on eBay. Anyway, did not get a big bag of coins, but still interested in everything, especially the technology. And from there, I actually started a Chia fork, which even got me deeper into what is going on with the concept, the coin set model, with consensus, really get into the details of it all. Also met a lot of fantastic people in the community, like yourself, Brandt, probably met, I don't know, 2 years ago, even longer ago. So I was very involved with Chia at that point. And at some point, I discovered that Chia had a bug route bounty program. So I started submitting all these bug reports about security issues. And I was pretty good at it and got noticed by Chia. And that's how I got on the Chia team.
An exciting journey, and I know it's been great working with you over the last couple of years on numerous projects. But yeah, quite a journey going from flying on an airplane to submitting bug reports to being identified and recognized by CNI. Thank you for sharing that, for sure. Now, for those who are here and not as knowledgeable about security engineering itself, do you mind giving a brief overview as to what security engineering is and kind of your role within CNI?
Sure. So for Chia, it comes down to making the blockchain secure. Um, we have different ways to get reports in of security issues that need to be addressed. I mentioned the bug route program. Really recommend to anybody that watches this to, if you have a security concern, go to bug route, look up Chia's bounty program, and submit an issue there. It's much better than going on Discord and saying, "Hey, there's an issue. The sky is falling." Through Backrowd, you can get rewarded for it, and it's a much better way to for Chia to be able to see what's going on if there's something there. Some other ways that we make Chia secure is through official audits, where we have third-party audit firms, Trail of Bits or Leaf Authority, that do audits on our primitives. These are the things that Chia really needs to have perfect. Chia asset tokens or offer files, like the main pillars. We just want to have the bright eyes of the audit firms to go over these things and say, yep, there's no issue there. And as you may know, we had a CAT version 1 and CAT version 2, and that was from a security audit by Trail of Bits that kind of said, something may be wrong here. And then Chia got onto it and was able to mitigate any issues there. And now we're on the second version of our CAT standard. And then beside those things, I also act as a white hat hacker that continuously probes the Chia code base on a daily basis to find potential security issues. As well as, we have very talented engineers at Chia, and just by instilling a focus on security and following best practices that ensures that whatever Chia produces had that security in mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you very much. And a great call out there to Bug Crowd and also to Trail Bits for helping with those security audits, and Bug Crowd for providing a place for those security reports as well. And going more on top of that, there's two sides of this, as you identified. We have the audit side of things where you're going through and reviewing the code, and then you also have your white hat hacking side of things where you're going through and trying to break things. Do you mind kind of going a little bit more in depth on both sides? The audit side as to what are auditors looking for when they're going through these reviews, and then on the white hat hacking side, what are some low-hanging fruit items that you like to go after first?
Sure. I'll tackle the last part first. That is the part that I find interesting. I still wake up every day, curious what is out there. It's like a little puzzle that I want to solve. Some things come from the community, actually. And sometimes you need to parse out like the raw emotions when the community has a topic in mind. Let's say compressed plots, right? Some people may think, the sky is falling, what do we do now? And kind of take the useful information out of what the community feels and extract that information and have an open mind. Most of the time there is something there, and that could be a good starting point for, one of the paths that I will go on to and kind of, dig into the code base. Everything's open source. You can just open up GitHub and put it in your IDE and, start following the code. It's all there. It will tell you a story, and keep on digging. Just don't give up. And if you think there's something there, then dig further. And I have the luxury of having the Chia engineers at my disposal where I can just say, hey, is this the way it's supposed to be, or what's going on there? But even when I didn't have that advantage and I was still in a period where I was submitting things in bug route, you can find things that the Chia technology is very complex, which also makes it very interesting. Now, obviously, the biggest issues are probably covered, but Chia will also accept the minor bug route reports. So community input is very helpful there, not just with bug route, but also feeling the temperature of the room, what's going on there. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy working at Chia is like the meta. It's not just me looking at code and staring at a computer screen, finding these issues, but it's also listening to people, being on Discord, the forums, on Reddit, and interacting with people. As for the first part, audits, so we have to prioritize these audits because the audit firms have plenty of work. There's a big lead time, sometimes months, and you need to prioritize which primitives we want audited. Chia produces so much code, so much new innovations that we really need to pick the most important things. Like I said, we want things that need to be perfect, like cats, offer files, the Chia bridge, things where there's real money involved. And kind of schedule that. And once you get on the schedule with your audit firm, then you need to make sure that they understand the thing that they're going to audit. So there's a kickoff, and there's a lot of communication between the engineering teams here at Chia and engineers at the audit firms, just for them to understand what the goals are, what it's supposed to do, and where we may think there could be issues. And from there on, it's really a month-long process where there's almost daily interactions. The audit team may have questions on the coin set model, for example, or how consensus work. There's most of the time Chia Lisp involved in these audits, which is very Chia specific. And that's why we like to use the same audit teams and the same engineering teams, because there's this knowledge is hard to come by. So we want to use that knowledge and reuse it. And there's not just Chia Lisp in a code, right? There's a lot of components here in Chia. When you have Chia Lisp, you probably have a driver to create these coins in, say, Python. You probably have consensus code that's Python, and it's in Rust, it's in C or C++. So we have different programming languages there. We have the coin set model that's kind of like UTXO, but has its own twists to it, the way that Chia does it. So there's a lot of interaction there, and in the time frame, obviously, they have questions or they find issues. And if they find issues, then we try to kind of solve them right away if we can. And if we can't solve them right away, we want to prioritize them and get them into the next release or releases thereafter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. And definitely sounds like a lot of fun when you get to go crawling through that code and really try to follow that story, as you say. That was an eloquent way to put it. Now, I think this is a good time to take a little bit of a higher view on the Chia code base and the security reviews and audits that you've done throughout your time here. What is your general impression on the Chia code base in regards to security?
Could you rephrase the question? I didn't quite get your question.
Certainly. Sorry about that. What is your perception of the security of the Chia code base and the consensus mechanisms? As you mentioned, we had one issue last year where the cats had to be replaced, and obviously that was due to potential security issues. Do you think that where the code base is now, it's at a good place and there might be some, high hanging fruit, some difficult to find security things, or is it kind of in a poor place where there's a lot of low hanging fruit that we still need to address?
Got it. I think we're in a great place. If you look back at the history, two things stand out, which the cat issue, where we didn't really look at the length of your input, and we would take different inputs, hash them together, and you could kind of cheat by having inputs that didn't have the right length in one part and more than the right length at the other part. That is addressed. Another issue that comes to mind that also some community projects encountered is that in Chia List, we have the concept of coins that can communicate with other coins through mechanism of announcements. And as a coin, you basically assert that this other coin is spent at the same time that did an announcement that is the way that you expect it to be. And when you insert an announcement, you sort of need to see that it's for you as a coin. Each coin has an idea. So in the announcement message, you need to see, okay, this is actually directed to me, because a coin announcement can be picked up by multiple iterations of the same coin. So let me just explain it as a concept that there's something called an ephemeral coin, where in a block, you as a coin are being spent, you create a copy of yourself, and that copy is also spent. So that coin in the middle is ephemeral. It only exists to create that other output. And when these coins a certain announcement to see if they are allowed to do certain things or even recreate themselves. If they don't assert that it's for their coin ID, then the next copy, that ephemeral coin, could assert the same announcement, and that would be okay. So that's kind of the second thing that we saw as security issues in the last couple of years. On the announcement part, we definitely are pointing it out. I think we have the documentation coming up with it, by kind of the pitfalls in Chia Lisp. I'm sure it will be listed there as well. But outside of that, not many big things happened. We have in our GitHub repository, we have the post-mortem repository. So we list there the things that we've encountered, how we fixed it, and when the fix was introduced into our code base. So for people that are interested, definitely dive in there and see the things that we've encountered as well. But those two are really the major things that happened. Chia as a blockchain is very secure. Now, if you create code on top of the Chia blockchain, we have Chia Lisp, which is probably new for a lot of people. And you can really write bad code in any language. So when you, as a community member, create your project and you write Chia Lisp, please reach out to other community members. We have really smart community members that already have experience in Chia Lisp. Just hit them up. We're all here together, right? And the people that I know here in the community, they love to help. And if you reach out, they can tell you their experience. And, you know, Chia Lisp pointed model is not always easy. They have probably these insights from their experience that are super useful to you. And besides that, you know, the Chia team is available on Discord too. I know, Brandt, you're there pretty much every day, I think. So just hop on Discord and ask those questions in the Chia Lisp channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't emphasize that enough as to how great the Chia community is in that regard. And proof positive, I've been working with another project, taking off the CNI hat, putting on my other company hat for just a brief second, on the Monkey Zoo fusion puzzle. And there were some updates that are needed to the Chia List puzzle there. But as you mentioned, one of the really impressive things is how much the community has come together to help refine and strengthen that puzzle to bring it to the next level. And then also, to your other point, the common issues with Chia Lisp, I can put my CNI hat back on now. The common issues for Chia Lisp has just been added to the chialisp.com site. So anybody interested, go to chialisp.com. And there is a section for common issues, which does go into depth regarding the issues that Bram has discussed today, as well as a few others that are kind of common pitfalls if announcements aren't made properly to secure coins and like. Going on that point there, as to once an audit goes through, such as the trail bits audit for the CAT standard, and an issue is identified, what are the remediation steps, and kind of what are the different sides of remediation between publicly announcing immediately when there's a security issue versus keeping it internal?
Yeah, and we take kind of the same path as like a bug route submission that comes in. And the first thing we really want to do is this the way it is as described by the researcher? The technology is quite complicated. The researcher may not fully understand what is going on here. And, you know, that's kind of my favorite part, is where I can, with an open mind, okay, what is going on here and how can we make this even worse? Or, you know, what path can I follow? Where are the similarities here that, you know, a potential adversary can take advantage of? So that's the kind of the first step to identifying what is going on and what is the scope of the issue. And then the next step is to triage it. we have like a triage meetings where we go over identified issues, and we want to put a security threat level on it. And we sort of have a couple of levels. The highest security threat would be if somebody could spend coins or could halt the blockchain, right? The really big issues fall in that category, and they would require an immediate fix, out of band release for those issues. The second level that we have is where you can interfere with the network. Say that you can send a message to a full node and a full node would fall over. Well, if you would use a botnet for that, you can take out a part of the blockchain. That would be like the second category issues where the security issue does not, in fact, impact just a single entity or single target, but you can expand the scope of the attack. And the third level is really everything else. So once we identify the security threat level, we can then prioritize how fast we need to fix that. Out of band releases, super rare. I don't recall any, maybe there have been, but very rare. So most likely your fix for the issue will then come into the next release or a release after. And when these releases come out, you'll probably see like a one-liner in our release notes that, we fixed something here. And the reason for that is that most of the time the network is still vulnerable to a security issue until a majority of the nodes have upgraded to a fixed version. So that kind of determines when we can release more information. Sometimes we can do a blog post quite soon after the fix, but sometimes we need to wait a while with either the blog post, and then we also have the process of the postmortems. We have that GitHub repo, and there we fully explain what was the issue, how was it solved, the timelines, when was the fix applied, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely, but definitely provides clarity as to sometimes we can't always announce things, and it's that the network needs to reach that level of security before we can announce as to what the potential exploit was previously. So definitely a good point there for sure.
It's an interesting balance because it's an open source project, so you can really just look in the source code and see what is changed. But yeah, we do want to protect everybody and not disclose things too early.
And that definitely creates a careful balance there. And kind of on that point, and a little bit more geared towards your personal experience within the security reviews and audits at Chia, what recent security audits or reviews that you have performed can you discuss with us?
Not sure. So
Un-
the big ones that are in the postmortems, probably I found a good chunk of those. And one thing that does come to mind is we had an issue where you could put a mempool item into our mempool that exceeded the cost, the CLVM cost of the mempool item than was supposed to. And what it means is that a TLS program could have been put in mempool and executed on all the nodes on the network that would have eaten up too many resources. That's the reason why we put a cost on the CLVM execution, because we want our network to be able to run on, say, the Raspberry Pi. So we identified that issue and we fixed the code. And then it was kind of a long way for me to see these node update, because I knew it could happen, and it could happen by accident, right? People wouldn't necessarily have to do this on purpose with malicious intent, but kind of by accident try to spend too many coins at the same time. And the threshold or the boundaries for that were not in place for a short amount of time. So that was to me very interesting, and kind of monitoring the mempool and seeing if nothing bad was going on. And after the fact and looking back at it, nothing bad happened. But yeah, interesting time.
Absolutely, absolutely exciting, and also a little nerve-wracking at the same time to see one of those potentially come through. Now, a lot of our talk today has been focused on our internal reviews of our own code base and also having other people review our code base. But obviously that's not the extent of your role as the lead security engineer here at Chia. What type of instances would we look outside of our code base, such as, I know one of the things that is constantly brought up is potential plot grinding, that if new hardware comes out that's fast enough, there's potential plot grinding. What types of avenues do we at CNI keep an eye on for external effects and how those might apply to our own security?
Yeah, so plot grinding, it's something that was known from the beginning, and Chia does have levers that they can activate to go against this. And for plot grinding, technology-wise, it's possible, but it's not economical, which means that just put your plots on disks is cheaper than burning all this energy with compute trying to emulate the same thing. But that's an interesting thing that you have to keep your eye on. If new technology, and even technology that will come out next year or the year thereafter, is still in line with the expectations. And what Chia did is they introduced code as a hard fork that will adjust the plot filter, and that will combat how economical this plot grinding will be, because you emulate now half of the space by adjusting the plot filter. The timeline for a hard fork, you have to kind of wait a year, right? You have to give people the time to upgrade, because a hard fork really means that if you did not update at that point in time, and Brandt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's in June next year. If you didn't upgrade to 2.0 version or later, you're not gonna be rewarded. You'll be on a different chain and you won't get your Chia rewards. So it's important that we give people time. So we can't really adjust these things overnight, so to say. And luckily, we have great experts here that are in the industry, like JM, that know, kind of the path that the technology will follow. And we can then be confident that the hard fork is enough to prevent this grinding thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we're kind of going a little off script now, but I'm going to ask you another question. And
Sure.
anybody who is participating and wants to ask a question, feel free to use that Q&A, or if you do post it in Discord, I'll probably be able to pick it up there as well. But I guess the last question that I have for you is specifically in regards to soft forks versus hard forks. And I know it creates a lot of confusion as to what those mean and how it applies to an individual farmer. Do you mind doing a quick high-level overview as to the difference between a soft fork and hard fork and how it affects the end user?
Sure. If you take, for example, the hard fork with the plot filter. So we have a consensus, the rules of the blockchain, and everybody needs to follow those. If I would take my own node and my own farmer, and I would break the rules of consensus, and I would try to make a block, then people would just say, no, this is not allowed. So as long as the majority says this is not allowed, it won't get on the blockchain. If we take those rules and we now expand them, we allow more to be allowed. For example, the plot filter. Currently, you need to have the number of bits to get to pass the 512 plot filter. We're now allowing more plots to pass the filter, and we have it at 256. So we expanding the rules. And that's a hard fork. Means that if you did not update, you're in trouble. You're not going to be on the right chain. The majority will not agree with you. And a soft fork is something where we restrict the rules even further than currently. Soft forks, we do want people to follow. And the reason for that is that most of the time a soft fork introduces new abilities for us. The recent soft fork introduced things that allow us SEC-V signatures. And I'm getting in a little bit too much into technical details, but it allows a lot of new functionality. So we want the majority of the people to update to this. But if you do not, and if you stick with the old version, then it's possible that you put something in your block, in your transactions, that the rest of the network now does not agree with because we restricted the rules. And at that point, you can miss fees that results out of these transactions for you. So again, please update if there are soft fork dates or hard fork dates coming up. Being on the latest version of Chia is basically your best bet because we improve all the time and there's new functionality there. So that's really my message to the farmers out there. Keep your farmers and your harvester up to date.
And that is excellent. And I'd just like to reiterate that as well. And, staying up with the latest updates not only brings you all the newest features, but it makes sure you're in compliance with these potential fork rules that come out. And as Bram mentioned, I'm always available inside of the Chia Discord. If you do run into issues while updating, I'm more than happy to help. That being said, we have wrapped through the questions that we had ready for this, and I've not seen any additional questions come through Zoom or Discord. So we can go ahead and wrap it up here. Was there anything else that you wanted to reiterate or any other points that we kind of glossed over today?
No, this was a great conversation. Thank you, Brandt.
Hey, and thank you very much, Bram. Really appreciate your insights and your expertise into the security audits and reviews today. And for all of the participants out there and those watching on the recording, thank you for joining us. I know we have quite a few fun events planned for the beginning of this next year, so we will definitely catch you then and hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season here. Thank you, Bram.